Welcome back to the Arbitress YouTube channel. In today's class, we are going to learn how to make this beautiful dress. It's a Godet dress, it's an off-shoulder dress, and it's really beautiful. So the Godet is not the regular one. We are going to achieve it using slash and spread method because it comes from the front and then goes all the way to the back, as we can see. If this is something you would like to learn, kindly stay tuned as I'm going to take you through how I was able to cut and sew this in this tutorial. So this is for a plus size. We're not going to do so much because the major is going to be on. So I'm just going to run you through what I have done. So this is my armhole line. It's an off-shoulder dress. This is my bust point, my half length. I'm not going to be padding it like that. I'm just going to add it that, a waist that, and a bust that. And this is my hip line, and then the full length of the dress. It's not going to have a half length. So for this, I went off by 5 inches before I started taking this measurement. Okay, I went up by 5 inches before I started taking my measurement. So after having all this measurement, the next thing is to get your bust span measurement. I've already done mine with a pencil, so I'm just going to draw them out so that it can be bold. So the bust span is your nipple divided by 2, your nipple to nipple divided by 2, and that is what I have there. Then after that, I took my dart on the both sides, and then I connected that to my bust point, and then I also connected that 2 inches before my hip line. That was where my dart leg stops. Okay, so that's my dart. So for tightening on the upper part here, I came out by half an inch on both sides, and then I also connected that to my bust point as well. I'm doing that because I'm going to be cutting through my dart. If you are not if you want to just hold your dart and you're not cutting it, then this is not advisable. So after that, to create my armhole line, I took my bust measurements on the armhole. The bust I'm working with is 50 inches, so I have about 5 inches here. Divided by 4 is 12.5, so this is where my 12.5 inches stops. And then the chest line I'm working with is 12 inches. So here I have 4.75, then I skip the dart and then continue. So 12 inches divided by 2 is going to give you 6 inches. So my 6 inches is here, and then you're going to take your curved ruler and then connect to form your armhole like this. So that is my armhole. So you can decide your neck depth here. Remember, you've already gone up by 5 inches, so you place it like this and decide how deep you want the neckline to be. But for me, I want to cut out the neckline when I'm done sewing the dart so that I can easily connect it to where my armhole line stops. That's the neckline I want to go for. So this is what I have so far. So the next thing is to take your circumference measurements and connect. I already have my bust here, so I'm going to add my seam allowance to that, and then you go to your waist. The waist I'm working with is 45, divided by 4 is 11.25. So I have this here. I'm just going to skip the dart and continue taking my measurement. So 11.25 stops here. I'm going to add my seam allowance to that as well. So you can go ahead and then connect your measurements. So this is the actual measurement and this is the seam allowance. Okay, so you just connect like that. So now for your hip line, you're going to mark your hip divided by 4. The hip I'm working with is 52 inches, divided by 4 is 13. So here I'm going to mark my 13 inches, and then you're going to take your ruler and connect. So when you want to connect this, you are not going to, this from the lower part is not going to have a seam allowance because there's no joining at the side. So you're going to connect it to your actual measurement, not the one with your seam allowance. So this is how you're going to connect it. But because this is a hip, you don't want it straight, so I'm just going to use this curved ruler to connect like this. Okay, so this same measurement that I have here, I'm going to take it all the way to the hem. Remember that I said I already have it drawn out with pencil, So I'm just going to use my marker to bold it out so that we can see what we are doing well. So this is the pattern that we have for the front. So for the front, remember that I said that it has a shortage of 2 inches from the front half length. The front half length is 20, the back half length is 18. So because of that, I'm going to take a bust out of 2 inches here, and then I'm going to connect it to my bust point here like this. Okay, so those are the dots that we are going to be taking for the front. So now to the actual style that we want to create. So for the center front, you need to determine how wide you want the plain fabric to be. So if you want it to be 4 inches wide in front, then it means you're going to be cutting 2 inches, because this is on fold. If you want it to be wide, if you want it to be 6, you can even connect it to your dart leg, but I don't want mine that wide. So I want it to be around 4 inches wide. So for that, I'm going to be marking 2 inches from this hip line all the way to the hem. This part actually depends on how we want it to look like, the style line you're aiming to go for. But for me, I'm using my hip line as a reference point. So I'm going to mark 2 inches from that hip line all the way to the hem. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to take my curved ruler and then connect from here to my waistline. So from here now, you're going to place your curved ruler and then find a really nice curve from there all the way to the waistline. So you can see this is what I'm going to have. So if you don't want your cuff to, if you don't like your cuff like this, maybe you want it to come down a little bit, you can reshape it. So let me illustrate this with another color of marker. So maybe you don't like the way the shape is here, you can just use this as a reference point and then just reposition your curve ruler and then you redraw the line. Okay, so you can see that we have something different. So you can go for any of the line. I think I prefer the way the black just comes like this, so I'm going to be going for the second line. So that is the shape that we're going to go for the front. So for the back, it's easy. I've also marked out the back as well. Okay, but for the back, the shape is going to be a little bit different. So this is my zipper allowance. I already came in by 0.75 inches here for zipper bulge, because I don't want this to have a zipper bulge. So I already did that. Okay, so I came here by on the waistline. Let me label the line. So this is my waistline, this is my armhole line, and this is my hip line. So here on the waistline, I came in by 0.75 inches, and then this is now my actual zipper allowance. So let me shade out the zipper allowance so that you note the part that is going to go off. So that's my zipper allowance. So I already took my dart as well here. You mark your bust span and then you take a dart of 1/2 inch or 0.75, whichever one you work with. Then connect that to your armhole and then 2 inches above your hip line, which is what I've done. So because of the way the back is shaped, it tends to have like a bulge at the back again. Although I've done this, I'm just taking another dart on the waistline area so that I can eliminate any possibility of zipper bulge. So to do that, I just came up by 0.75 here and came down by 0.75, then I connected that to my side. So all of this is going to be going off as well, although I'm going to be closing it on this paper, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. So after this, you come to your upper part here and then you mark your chest line. Remember, we used 6 inches for the front, so I'm going to mark the same 6 inches for the back as well. Here, this is my 12.5 inches for my bust, and then you take your curved ruler and then you connect like this for your armhole line. Okay, for the back again, for the back as well, I'm going to sew in the dart first before I do my back, because I want to cut the dart out completely, just like I did for the front. Okay, so I just extend my dart leg and then I'm going to cut it out and then sew. So this is what we have. So the next thing to do now, and then you can see that I already took my hip measurement as well. I connected it to the hem and then I stopped adding allowance on the waistline because there's no joining at the side for the skirt, so you don't need seam allowance there. So like I said, the shape of the back is different from what we have in front. So for the back, from my hip line, it's going to have like a basque shape at the back. So from my hip line, I'm coming up by 3 inches. This is totally up to you as well and what you want. So once I come off by 3 inches there, I'm going to take my ruler and then connect that to the side to form like a basque effect there, and then you connect that into your seam allowance. Okay, so this is the shape that I'm going to have for the back, and you can see the shape that I will have for the front. So I'm going to cut this out now and then show you how I'm going to close this dart. I've cut it out and you can see that the paper is smaller now. So to close this dart, if it's going to have half length, you know, you just need to cut it like this and then you sew them together. But because this does not have any half length, I'm going to be closing it on the paper. So what I'm going to do basically is just to cut this dart that we have created, that we connected to our side like this. Then after cutting it, we are going to close it. So you can see I'm going to close it like this. That's what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to use my tape to hold it together. When you close it, you can see this is what the shape looks like. You can see that the waistline is tilted inwards. So now I'm going to separate the half length from the skirt. Remember that we are going to be doing slash and spread on the lower part. So this is the half length that I'm going to be cutting out on my plain fabric, and then I'm going to be working on this later on. So for the front as well, it is similar. What you just need to do is to cut out this skirt. This is the skirt part. You're going to cut it out and then keep this to cut on your plain, and then we're going to be working on the lower part later. So I'm going to be cutting open this dart. I'll do the same thing for the back as well. If you don't want to cut open your dart, all you just need to do is to all you need to do is just to reshape this. It's just to sew in your dart when you are done. But I'm going to be cutting my dart, so this is going to be my side back and this is going to be the center back. So when I'm done sewing this, I'm going to cut out my neck line. But if you want, you can also cut your neckline now. So this is what I have. This is what I have for now. So I'll do the same thing for the front, and then I'm going to be closing my bust dart. So this is the front. You can see now that I have cut out this part on the front. That's the skirt that I'm going to be doing slash and spread on. So this part I'm going to be cutting with my plain fabric. So what I just need to do now is to cut out my dart. Okay, when you're transferring on your paper, please make sure your dart legs and then you align it on your fabric so that you're not going to run into issues. So this one is 4 point, about 4 point, almost 4.5, and what I have here is just 4 and like 4 1/4. So you should just make sure that you through everything, make sure they are the same, add necessary allowances, then cut out. So this is my side front and this is my center front. So I'm taking out the darts to be able to join them together. Again, if you don't want to take them out, you can just cut it out and then you just sew the darts on your fabric and then transfer the points to guide you. But I just want to cut mine out and then sew it back, so it's totally up to you. So here I'm going to go ahead and close my dart here, so that way my side for both front and back is going to be the same on the waistline area. Okay, remember I said that we used that to control the 2 inches difference that we have on the front and back. So I'm going to use this tape to hold that part in place as well. Okay, so now I'm going to bring the back so that we can see the difference that we have there. So this is the back. Okay, so you can see the side. You see that the side is going to be exactly the same. This was the dart that we closed earlier for the waist. So this is the right side. So let me place it like this so that we can see it better. So you can see. So the side have to be the same. That was why we introduced this dart. So now I'm going to be keeping the upper part. Okay, I'm going to keep the upper part and then work on the skirt. So for the skirt, like I said, there's no seam allowance on the side. So I'm just going to close the side by joining it. You join it as if you have sewn it. Remember, these are the two sides for the front. So I'm going to join it as if you have sewn it. I'm going to use my tape to hold it together, and then now I'm going to draw out slash lines on it because you are going to be doing slash and spread on this part. So just make sure that they are joined together. Okay, like you have sewn them. I'm doing this because I don't want it to have gathers. I want to still maintain my waistline. These lines, these initial lines that I have, I'm still going to maintain them. I'm not going to be running gathers on the waist area. So the volume is just going to be on the body. It's not going to be extended to these lines that we have here. So this is what the skirt looks like now when joined together. I'm going to take my ruler and marker, and then I'm going to draw out slash lines. So you can draw as many slash lines as you want, but I'm just going to be doing 2 inches. Since the ruler I'm using is 2 inches, so I'm just going to use the ruler to mark out 2 inches on this line, and that's going to be my slash line. And also, please, this small dart that we have there, remember to close it. If you don't close it, this part is going to be bigger than what you have on your half length by the time you join the darts of the half length. So please close these two darts that extend to the skirt. So you can see that I have marked out my slash line here. So the next thing now is to grab your scissors and then you cut through the lines. So when you are cutting, you make sure that you don't cut completely when you get to the tip. So this one I just extended it to my dart so that I can easily close the dart here. Okay, so but make sure that you don't cut this completely, just cut to the tip like this. Here I'm closing it, that's why it's like that. So I'm going to use a tape to hold it there. Then the next one you are going to cut the same way, and then when you get to the tip that's around your waistline, you're going to stop. So you can see you're going to stop here and then you spread. So I'm going to cut all of them and spread it, then bring it back to show us what we have. So this is what we have. You can see I have spread it all, and I have 8 inches between each of my spread. I spread everything by eight inches, so you can spread more or less depending on what you want. If you want it to be really big, you can increase it. So once you spread it, you put your fabric on hold and then you place your pattern on the fabric, then you're going to cut it out. So I cut it out and I added half an inch all around it for me to be able to sew it back to the main bodies. So this is what it looks like. So by okay, so I just showed you how to draw, how I cut out the lower part. So like I said, I'm using a plain fabric for the upper part. So I've gone ahead to cut it. This is the center front. You make sure to cut this part on fold for the center front and add allowance to it. This is the side front. I also added allowance to the side front as well. You don't need to add allowance here because we already have our seam allowance. So here on the upper part, I did not add any allowance because remember that I've not cut out my neckline. I want to join the dart first before cutting the neckline, so that's why I left it like that. So this is the back as well. These are the two back pieces, and this is what I have. So now I'm going to go ahead and join this, but before then I want to weave it. So I'll go and weave it. I'll weave all of them before I join it. I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, so just like I explained, I've gone ahead to weave the pieces before sewing them together. You can see that they are neatly weaved. That's because I'm not going to be adding lining to it. So this is one of the back, and then this is the other back piece that we have. You can see all the dots that we took there to avoid zipper bulge, and this is the front. Okay, so after joining it, you go ahead and open your seam, and you can see that I have a little depth for the bust. Okay, you can see because it's not padded, it may not show well, but this is what we'll have for that. Remember, we did not pad this properly. So now this is the center part of the front as well. You go ahead and open your seams, and you can see that I have also weaved this part. So the dress is very easy to make. The major work is just on the cutting. So now remember that I am yet to cut out my neckline. So if you want, you can cut your neckline now, and you can also wait to join it before you cut it. Okay, so that's the front. To cut your neckline, you have to put it on fold. If you have cut yours when you are drafting, then you don't need this process. You can skip it, so you can work with any neckline of your choice. Remember, we already went off by 5 inches, so always remember that. So I'll start taking my neck depth measurement from here, the 5 inches. So depending on how deep you want the neckline to be, I think 7.5 or even 7 inches is enough depth for me. So I'm going to connect that to the tip, which is here, and that's for the front. For the back, you place your 5 inches here as well, and then you decide the neck depth you want for the back. The back, I want it a little lower, so I'm going to go with 8 inches, and then I'm going to go ahead and connect that as well. So once you are done with that, you are going to cut it out. So you can use facing for this, or you can use bias to turn it. Whichever one you choose to work with is fine. So I've cut it out. This is what it looks like now. This is the back. You can see the neckline that we have at the back, and this is the front. Okay, so now yours can be lower than this if you want, but it's for a plus size, so I don't want the bust to be showing too much. That's why I'm going as moderate as possible. So this is what I have. So what you just need to do now is to lay your front and back on each other, and then you're going to join it with the seam allowance that you left. You can see, so here I'm going to lay them on each other like this, and then I'm going to sew with my seam allowance. So after sewing it, you're going to bring your the lower part, the skirt. I already weaved the skirt as well. I weaved it so that it can be neat as well. So remember, you're going to have two for each of the sides. Okay, and then we notch the zipper allowance to indicate the back. So this is the back. I still have my notch there, although we've weaved it, but I can still see where I notched. Okay, so this is my notch here for the back, so I know where the back is. So this is going to be your center back for this, and this is the front. And then for the side as well, you can see the notch here. So when you want to sew it, you make sure that you match the points together. This is going to be your side, so you need to match that. I'm still going to show you how I'm going to do that, so I'll go ahead and join this side now. Okay, so this is what we have now. I've gone ahead to Okay, so I have sewn this side. You can see I have sewn this side. I've joined this side with my seam allowance. Okay, I've joined it with my seam allowance. So the next thing now is to get your points together. So this is my notch for the side. Okay, this is the side and this is my notch for this side. You can see the notch here. So I match them together and then I pinned it to the back. You can see all the way to the back as zipper allowance, and then for the front I also pinned it all the way to the front. I did the same thing for the two side. So when you open it out, this is what it's going to look like. You can see the shape that we have in front. So now I'm going to go ahead and join them. I'm going to sew it, and when I sew it, I'm going to open the seam. So all you need to do now is to install your zipper, okay, at the back. You're going to fix your zipper at the back, and then you're going to add your sleeve of choice. You hem the lower part and the neckline, and your dress is ready. I've gone ahead to sew this side. You can see, so make sure that it is straight, it's not packing when you're aligning it, because it's not going to relax if it's not it is not lying flat like this. So you can see how the design goes in front. You can see, and then for the back it's just a basque waist. You can see the waistline that we have at the back. For the back, the flower is full at the back, but for the front we still have our plain at the center front, just like this. And then I wanted to fix just a puff sleeve, rough puff sleeve with gathers. So I used elastic to gather it, as you can see, and the sleeve is also weaved so that it can be neat inside. You can see my facing that I used to turn it. So once you sew this, make sure that you open up your seam allowance. Make sure that you open your seam allowance at the inside. If you don't open the seam, especially if you're using a fabric like Mikado, like I am doing, it's very thick. If you don't open it and iron like this, it's going to look bulky. So you have to open every seam and iron it flat like this so that it can relax. If you don't do this, it will not come out well. Okay, so this is what we have. I've gone ahead to hem the lower part as well. So I'm going to put it on the mannequin so that we can see what it looks like. So this is what it looks like on the mannequin. You can see how beautiful it is looking. I can see how voluminous the skirt part is. So for the skirt, I spread it by 8 inches. I have 8 inches between each of the spread, just like I explained, and it gave me something this voluminous. You can see the basque effect that we have at the back as well. The skirt is really beautiful and it's big enough to give me all the folds that I have there. So I used about 3 yards for both sides of the skirt. I used 3 yards for the two sides, and this is what I have. I hope you enjoyed making this beautiful tutorial with me. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment and subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you in the next one.